Shemot, Exodus, chapter 10. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that you may tell in the ears of your son, and of your son's son, what things I have wrought in Mitzrayim, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know how that I am Yahuwah.
And Moshe and Aharon came in unto Pharaoh, and said unto him, Thus says Yahweh Elohai of the Ivrim, How long will you refuse to humble yourselves before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if you refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow I will bring the locusts into your coast, and they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth. And they shall eat the remnant of that which is escaped, which remains unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which grows for you out of the field. And they shall fill your houses, and the houses of all your servants, and the houses of all the Mitzrayim, which neither your fathers nor your fathers' fathers have seen, since the day that they were upon the earth unto this day. And he turned himself and went out from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servants said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve Yahweh Elohaikim. Know you not that Mitzrayim is destroyed? And Moshe and Aharon were brought again unto Pharaoh. And he said unto them,
Go, serve Yahuwah Elohaikim. But who are they that shall go?
And Moshe said, We will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds. We will go, for we must hold a feast unto Yahuwah. And he said unto them,
Let Yahuwah be so with you, as I will let you go. And your little ones, look to it, for evil is before you. Not so. Go now, ye that are men, and serve Yahuwah, for that ye did desire.
And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Stretch out your hand over the land of Mitzrayim for the locusts, that they may come up upon the land of Mitzrayim, and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail has left.
And Moshe stretched forth his rod over the land of Mitzrayim. And Yahweh brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up over all the land of Mitzrayim, and rested in all the coast of Mitzrayim. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left, and there remained not any green thing in the trees, or in the herbs of the field, through all the land of Mitzrayim. Then Pharaoh called for Moshe and Aharon in haste, and he said,
I have sinned against Yahuwah Elohaikim, and against you. Now therefore forgive, I pray you, my sin only this once, and entreat Yahuwah Elohaikim, that he may take away from me this death only.
And he went out from Pharaoh and entreated Yahweh. And Yahweh turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coasts of Mitzrayim. But Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Yasharel go. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Stretch out your hand towards the heavens, that there may be darkness over the land of Mitzrayim, even darkness which may be felt.
And Moshe stretched forth his hand toward the heavens, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Mitzrayim 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Yasharel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh called unto Moshe and said,
Go ye, serve Yahweh. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you.
And Moshe said, You must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto Yahweh Eloheinu. Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not a hoof be left behind. For thereof must we take to serve Yahweh Eloheinu. And we know not with what we must serve Yahweh until we come thither. But Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him,
Get you from me. Take heed to yourself. See my face no more. For in that day you see my face, you shall die.
And Moshe said, You have spoken well. I will see your face again no more. Shemot, Exodus chapter 11. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh, and upon Mitzrayim. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold.
And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Mitzrayim. Moreover, the man Moshe was very great in the land of Mitzrayim, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. And Moshe said, Thus says Yahweh, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Mitzrayim, and all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sits upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Mitzrayim, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more. But against any of the children of Yasharel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that you may know how that Yahweh puts a difference between the Mitzrayim and Yasharel. And all these your servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get you out, and all the people that follow you. And after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. And Yahweh said unto Moshe,
Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Mitzrayim.
And Moshe and Aharon did all these wonders before Pharaoh. And Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Yasharel go out of his land. Shemot, Exodus chapter 12. And Yahweh spoke unto El Moshe and El Aharon in the land of Mitzrayim, saying,
This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the assembly of Yasharel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole multitude of the assembly of Yasharel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the two sides of the posts, and on the upper doorposts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and matzah, unleavened bread. And with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Pesach. For I will pass through the land of Mitzrayim this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast. And against all the Elohai of Mitzrayim I will execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be to you for a mark upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall ye eat matzah. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whoever eats hametz, leavened bread, from the first day unto the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Yasharel. And in the first day there shall be a holy assembly, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy assembly to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall guard the feast of matzah, unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore shall ye guard this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first day, on the 14th day of the month at evening, ye shall eat matzah, until the 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days shall there be no hametz found in your houses, for whosoever eats that which is with hametz, leaven, even that soul shall be cut off from the assembly of Yasharel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing with hametz. In all your habitations shall ye eat matzah.
Then Moshe called for all the elders of Yasharel, and said unto them, Draw out, and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Pesach. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahuwah will pass through to smite the Mitzrayim. And when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And ye shall guard this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when ye are come to the land which Yahuwah will give you, according as he has promised, that ye shall guard this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Pesach, who passed over the houses of the children of Yasharel in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrayim and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Yasharel went away, and did as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe and Aharon, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahuwah smote all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Mitzrayim, and there was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moshe and Aharon by night, and said,
Rise up, and get ye forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Yasharel, and go, serve Yahuwah, as ye have said, and take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also.
And the Mitzrayim were urgent upon the people, that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, We be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, and their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Yasharel did according to the word of Moshe, and they borrowed of the Mitzrayim jewels of silver, and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the sight of the Mitzrayim, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. And they spoiled the Mitzrayim. And the children of Yasharel journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with him, and flocks, and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked matzah cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Mitzrayim, and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. Now the sojourning of the children of Yasharel, who dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim, and in the land of Canaan, they and their fathers, was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the hosts of Yahweh went out from the land of Mitzrayim. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh, for bringing them out of the land of Mitzrayim. This is that night of Yahweh, to be observed of all the children of Yasharel in their generations. And Yahweh said unto Moshe and Aharon,
This is the ordinance of the Pesach. There shall no stranger eat thereof, but every manservant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then he shall eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. You shall not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. All the assembly of Yasharel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you, and will keep the Pesach to Yahuwah, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no one uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. 1 Torah shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourns among you.
Thus did all the children of Yasharel, as Yahweh commanded Moshe and Aharon, so did they. And it came to pass at the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Yasharel out of the land of Mitzrayim by their armies. Shemot, Exodus chapter 13. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying,
Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb among the children of Yasharel, both of man and of beast, it is mine.
And Moshe said unto the people, Remember this day, in which you came out from Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand Yahweh brought you out from this place. There shall no chametz be eaten. This day came ye out in the month Aviv. And it shall be, when Yahweh shall bring you into the land of the Canaanim, and the Hittim, and the Amorim, and the Chivim, and the Yebusim, which he swore unto your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat matzah, and in the 7th day shall be a feast unto Yahweh. Matzah shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no chametz be seen with you, neither shall there be leaven seen with you in all your quarters. And ye shall show your son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which Yahweh did unto me, when I came forth out of Mitzrayim. And it shall be for a sign unto you upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes, that Yahweh's Torah may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand has Yahweh brought you out of Mitzrayim. You shall therefore guard this ordinance in his appointed time from year to year. And it shall be, when Yahweh shall bring you into the land of the Canaanim, as he swore unto you and to your fathers, and shall give it you, that you shall set apart unto Yahweh all that open the womb, and every firstling that comes of a beast which you have. The males shall be Yahweh's. And every firstling of an ass you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you will not redeem it, then you shall break his neck. And all the firstborn of man among your children shall you redeem. And it shall be, when your son asks you in time to come, saying, What is this? That you shall say unto him, By strength of hand Yahweh brought us out from Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that Yahweh slew all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both of the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to Yahweh all that opens the womb, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall be for a mark upon your hand, and for frontlets between your eyes, For by strength of hand, Yahweh brought us forth out of Mitzrayim.
Hey guys, welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper channel and another edition of the Hard Truth Show. Today we've got a very special stream. Got the brothers over at Skiba News Nation to join us and talk about Brother Rob Skiba, the man, the ministry, and his legacy. I think this will be a great conversation. We're definitely going to have probably a lot of side topics that will pop up as this goes through today, and I'm excited about that as well. For those that are new in the building, if you're curious as to when we live stream, I always stream on new moon days, Sabbath days on the scriptural calendar. If you haven't checked that out, there's a free app for that over at the Apple and Google Play Store for World's Last Chance. They've got a great calendar app for the scriptural calendar. Guys, this week alone, I think I had 2 different streams taken down because of medical misinformation. If y'all know what the topic was in those videos, you can check out those over at the all-time high playlist over at Odyssey because they're no longer available at YouTube land. And that's why I also encourage you guys to go over and check us out at Odyssey, just in case one day YouTube pulls the plug because they are not friendly to this content anymore. A lot of the things that's discussed. So just keep that in mind as well. For those that missed some of the recent streams, talked about, would believe in a globe earth if, and I thought that was a really fire one. And I'm surprised that they haven't put the flat earth, Wikipedia link thing over that yet. That one slipped through the cracks on the algorithm. And I talked about the Greg Locke and Dean Odell debate with Brother Tim Greer recently. And then we talked about things that will not be missed in the kingdom of heaven. I thought that was a really great discussion. And today we're going to have Brother Jeremiah Skiba on here and Brother Jake Grant from Skiba News Nation to talk about Brother Rob Skiba. And if you all have not seen the things that man done, today will be an eye-opening experience to educate you and bring you up to speed on that, because he was one of the greats, especially in the flat earth community. So first off, I want to welcome Brother Jeremiah Skiba and Brother Jake Grant on. Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's an honor to have you in the building.
It's an honor to be here.
Great to be here.
And do you guys want to, real quickly before we get the show on the road, do you just want to say a few words about Skiba News Nation and let everybody know the 411 so they can come over and enjoy that content as well?
Yeah, Skiba News Nation is a weekly YouTube podcast that we do in honor of my dad. We premiere every Friday at 4:44 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're on Rumble too, and Odyssey, and every major podcast platform, I think. Isn't that right, Jake?
Awesome.
Yep, that's right.
Sweet.
And guys, I've got the link to y'all's YouTube channel in the video stream today, but if Jens will shoot me the other links, I'll make sure and add that in after we get done streaming today as well.
For sure. Cool.
All right. So, I guess the best baseline to go off of is, I guess, in 30 seconds flat, for somebody that never knew Rob Skiba and what his work was, if you could coin that in like 30 seconds flat, what would be that label?
Well, it kind of like what I put on his stone. What's researcher, public speaker, award-winning author, filmmaker, biblical cosmologist, ancient Nephilim theorist, and all around truth seeker. I mean, I have this sticker right here in honor of him because he taught me how to be a truth seeker. So
Absolutely. That's straight up. I mean, is there anything in particular just to set the tone for today that you men want to share in particular about him?
He was just my dad. Like a lot of people think of my dad as somebody who they learn from, and I learned from him, but he was my dad. Like he was just a normal guy, and I wish I would have paid more attention when he was still here, and that's something I'll always regret. But I don't know, Jake, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, Rob touched hundreds of thousands of people's lives, if not just through directly interacting with his presentations and materials, or through him influencing others who then went on to create content or media or books that had also been influenced by Rob's research. And he told the joke all the time that he's a researcher. So he would go and research what people had already, presented, and he would find these beautiful gems that would really just challenge a worldview that we so easily have handed to us from those who've come before us in innocence, and we keep those belief sets in ignorance sometimes. But Rob was one of those guys who broke through that mold of just trusting the doctorate seminary kind of theology and ideology that's been passed throughout the church world. And I think that really is what set Rob apart, is he was just like hungry with the spirit of truth. And I think that's what really drew a lot of people to him, is that whole concept of what is the spirit of truth? What does it lead you to look into? I mean, the spirit of truth doesn't hide from the lie, right? In Second Thessalonians, it talks about those who love a lie, are damned because of it. But, those who wake up to the truth of the deceptions in this world are able to kind of navigate in a better fashion. The Most High can kind of help reveal other deceptions. If you have that desire to find out the truth on one topic, then other truths seem to pop up. And that's what happened with Rob, I think. And I think that's probably, why he was such an influence on so many of us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, what I loved best about Rob was he spoke from a place of peace and a solid foundation. Like had he debated Greg Locke, I think that would have been shut down and done in about 45 minutes flat. And the only reason it would have ran 45 minutes is people would have been so hungry to keep listening to what he had to say that it would have went on that long. But I mean, like, just like, for example, whenever he would explain things too, especially just talking about flat earth, is that it was expounded on in a very level-headed, you can replicate what I'm saying, go look into this yourself kind of mindset. Like, I appreciated that, I think, more about him than anything else. And like I said, I know me and Brother Joel hate it so bad he didn't get to speak at the Restoring Foundations conference we had just because of scheduling at the time. But I think that's one of for anybody that's never seen Rob's work, watched his YouTube videos, his presentations, him speaking, public speaking, I think that's one of the most key things that he brought to the community of believers, is that a lot of people, delivery, I think a lot of people have some great talking points. They have some great knowledge base they can give to people, but delivery to me is everything. And Rob just delivered it straight up in a way that I think many people could receive in a measure that they needed to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think because Rob was so fun to listen to, he actually won more people over than the content or title of the talk would, right? So because he was so passionate about his discoveries, he made other people passionate as well. So, I mean, for those who are not familiar, I mean, he really kicked his research off with Nephilim, looking into extra biblical texts, looking into kind of a counter narrative to the ancient aliens theology and theories that are circulating in kind of the secular kind of ancient alien belief set, whatever. And he challenged that back in the early 2000s, 2010. He was putting all those presentations out on Nephilim and stuff. I think that's what really drew a lot of attention to Rob early on, because one of the prevalent theories taught in seminaries is, of course, the Sethite theory. And it's the Sethite theory which takes Genesis 6 and says that the sons of man took the daughters of man and made Nephilim giants, which doesn't make sense. But the scripture says the sons of God, and Rob's research kind of unpacked that not only did all the early church fathers, but all kind of ancient Jewish belief kind of supports this concept that there were fallen angel entities that took wives from men, and that modern theology of the Sethite theory kind of deconstructed that, because angels are too, that's too weird, that's too spiritual. Like, angels aren't given in marriage. How could a rebellious angel, by the way, take a wife and have a Nephilim offspring? There's New Testament scriptures that says they won't be given in marriage or taken it. Well, they're, for one, rebellious angels, and I think that's what Rob loved to point out, and it helps really address this modern deception that's really ramping up in today's world, which is UFOs and alien sightings. And we even had the words Nephilim in Miami on on some stuff. And so what is the biblical perspective on all of these kind of sightings and cultures throughout history that have reported these beings coming from the heavens, interacting with man, teaching us secret knowledge and all that kind of stuff? And the biblical answer would be these fallen angels, these watchers, as talked about also in the extra biblical book of Enoch, which Rob's research goes into all that kind of stuff. But that's what really kickstarted Rob's research. And I'm just sharing briefly for those who've not stumbled across his work yet, so that they can kind of go, oh, okay, maybe I'll look into that. I'm interested in giants and fallen angels and stuff like that. But it was after that Rob really stepped into the Christian truther alternative media type scene, and it was through that journey that he started to unpack a lot of other conspiracies, looking into 9/11 and looking into all kinds of stuff, which eventually led him down a route that almost cost him his whole ministry, which was the flat earth topic. In 2015, he started looking into that, and he went kicking and screaming, and eventually decided to stand on the word of God and call man a liar when it comes to the topic of cosmology, which is, for those who still haven't seen his work, you might be scratching your head like, whoa, this guy went down the flat earth rabbit hole. What? How could I listen to somebody like that? Well, guess what? There's more to it than meets the eye. And I think Rob was one of the best people over the past, since 2015 through that whole flat earth awakening movement. He was the best presenter. And what was beautiful about Rob's role in that whole flat earth movement was that the reason I'm kind of privy to this is because I followed the flat earth movement, made a documentary, and was working with Rob since 2017, going to all the conferences and stuff. And I believe the flat earth movement and that whole conspiracy topic of cosmology and NASA and stuff, it was an ugly clam that the Most High used to wake up truth lovers around the world. And what people would find, if you saw that flicker of a little lighter in the darkness of deceptions of the world, and you had a love of truth enough to go and investigate it and go and hear guys like Rob sharing their research and debunking NASA, you would find that if you were brave enough to investigate this ugly clam that was the flat earth movement, which is such a, cognitive dissonant covered word, right? If you open that clam up, the pearl inside of the flat earth movement that you would discover is full Bible believing, observant, Torah observant believers that were there hungry for the truth. And it was a beautiful pearl that was kind of happening parallel to the flat earth movement, with Rob also diving into that realm of research in terms of biblical identity, eschatology, challenging dispensational theology. So in a big nutshell, these are all the topics that Rob was very well known for, influenced a lot of people in, and personally, he did great work in Nephilim stuff. He did great work in Flat Earth, but my personal favorite, research of Rob's was when he started to share his perspective on the Ephraim awakening. I think the most significant biblical prophetic revelation has come through people understanding their identity in Scripture, and there's been many theological wool over the eye type doctrines that have blinded us as a Christian kind of led community around the world that has kind of kept people deceived on a variety of topics. But Rob was very prolific in explaining and sharing some of those topics in terms of scriptural identity, of people being grafted into the olive tree that is Israel, and what that means with our faith walk and our practice as believers in Yahushua, right? So that's a long mouthful there, but hopefully that helps people that are just kind of, interested in who this guy is, kind of get their head wrapped around what he was talking about.
Absolutely. Jeremiah, is there anything you want to add to that on that part?
Well, I just think I have dyslexia, and like I have a hard time comprehending things that I read, but the way that he spoke made it so easy for me to understand what he was saying, if that makes sense. So
Sure.
that's one thing that I try to imitate. I mean, he has shoes that are impossible to fill, but I try my best, and I'm still learning along the way. So Jake is way more knowledgeable about the Bible than I am. I mean, that's just I'm just along for the ride,
I got you, man. Well, I think it was so timely. 2015 forward, it was wild how many people, like if you go back and look at all the content I made, even the mini series on Flat Earth, like I was thinking of people like Tiger Dan, and there's so many people that was in faith that around that same time just started blasting Flat Earth out there. And it was just like a massive awakening that was coming on. It was just like, that was the time of delivery. And I think it's so important for people to look back and be like, well, now that we've seen time progress, why was it so prolific back then? Well, if you look around 2015, they were saying AI is going to be a thing. They were talking about Project Bluebeam, aliens. And now it's like, they're like the Miami thing the other day. They got a meme already where a kid's walking with an alien, like from the Aliens movie, like a dog on a leash. And they're like, I went to the mall, I brought this dog home, and it's like, I'm just like, everybody knows what's up without saying what's up. And, like I got this book on the shelf that's In Search of Ancient Gods, Eric von Daniken. And it's so wild that when people look back at what, many people would refer to as aliens, when we really understand demons and Nephilim and the giants, all this compartmentalized where it belongs, that, as of the days of Noah, so shall come the Son of Man be. When you really start looking at where we're at on this dynamic right now, and like, we were talking about on y'all's stream, the River Euphrates and all these things that's just fallen into place. It is so paramount people see flat Earth, because it's going to erode away all these deceptions that is being ramped up again. And I mean, poor old NASA. I don't know what's going on over at NASA, but they're really slipping on selling lies, because now they're pushing back the moon mission. I think it's 2 more years now. They just announced that the other day. So, I mean, somebody's going to have to get that CGI and that water tank, that big swim tank back on action, because these boys are killing out here. They're dying over here.
Yeah, there's a documentary Jeranism put out talking about how every administration kicks the moon landing projects down the chute to the next administration. Like they'll announce this, during my presidency, we're going to the moon. And then, oh, just kidding. Then the next president runs, for office and is like, we're going to the moon again, by golly, 60 years later, we're not. It's
Yeah, don't forget we forgot how to get there too, guys. Yeah, don't forget
We lost
that.
we lost
Yeah.
the technology.
Oh
M-
man.
Me and my girlfriend had a good point the other day. You know how we can see other planets allegedly through telescopes? How come we
Right.
can't see the American flag or where they landed from a telescope?
Mhm. Mhm. Excellent
And
question.
she's a science teacher in elementary school, so she went from completely believing NASA to not at all. So just to watch her, question these things is pretty awesome. But when she said that, I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's just a crazy point to think about. Like, where is it? Show me the photos. I want to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
people don't have to start with flat Earth. They can work up to a big overarching conspiracy like that with underlying kind of easily digestible conspiracies, or like, does government lie? Let's start there. Have they ever deceived us for any other purpose
Right.
other than our own good? So and once people start to recognize they're liars, man. And how can you buy a liar's, what their liars selling multiple times in a row? Eventually, you got to go, oh, well, even though it looks good, even though it looks real now, you guys have lied in the past, and I can't buy it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, facts on that. I mean, well, the one selling point I would say that's so great for the truth for flat Earth is how many people that are atheists that I know, like Brother Josh Keefe over at Founded Earth Brothers. My channel alone, I know of people that's went on and gave their testimony that they were atheists, and then that brought them to the truth. Like that just opened the doors wide to the truth because they're like, man, this backs up everything I found on my own research. And I was like, that's incredible. All praise the Most High Yah for that. That's worth it all right there.
That was a beautiful segment during Dean Odell's debate that he took, I think, a good like 20 minutes at Greg Locke's church and shared testimony after testimony of people that were like, look, I was a flat out atheist, and this brought me back to the book. It brought me back to recognizing there's a creator above our heads. So that was very beautiful.
Didn't you say that my dad debated Dean Odell?
Yes, they had agreements on the flat Earth topic, but in terms of eschatology and biblical identity, kind of dispensational, they had major disagreements there. So it was funny in retrospect, because I remember meeting Dean way back in 2017, and I included a segment of him saying this in 2017 in my documentary, and he said, whenever the Most High is doing something and he wants to, grow the body of Christ, he usually restores or reveals a lost truth, right? And of course, in 2017, Dean's talking about flat Earth, but there's more truth that the Most High was revealing, and that one of the topics of disagreement was, biblical identity, escaping dispensational theology and kind of coming out of the Catholic Church practices and doctrines and dogma. And so the way that Dean treated Rob regarding Torah and the Ephraim awakening and prophecy in terms of that was the same way that Greg Locke treated Dean during the debate. So it was like a really interesting seeing how people can have truth and they can be blinded to other things and do the same exact thing to somebody that they think doesn't got it figured out or whatever. So it was really interesting watching that back and forth, because I saw those discussions and kind of that controversy between Rob and Dean Odell over the years regarding biblical feasts and Ephraim, Israel and all that kind of stuff. And but I think what it does show is that the Most High has the truth ready there for us, and it takes a lot of humility and patience to be able to open yourself up to a realm of possibilities that you might have been closed to before, and we're all susceptible to it. I think it's a great lesson that we should all approach new topics or new information very patiently, very wisely, humbly, because you never know, the next big truth the Most High reveals in this day and age could just knock our socks off, and I don't want to miss out on the boat. You know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah, I want to stay humble as possible because if there is any more truth to be known, I want to be on the forefront of that, getting hit with that, because deception, the agendas that are pushing deception, everybody's doubling down. I mean, it is, you can just see the double down effort right now before our very eyes. So I definitely don't want to be caught up in deception, and because, you know, what is it that even if it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. I do not want to be, you know, deceived at all. Something I know we ain't discussed yet. Let me see if I can screen share this real quick, and y'all let me know, man, if this is showing up. Can y'all see Testing the Globe on the screen right now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Do you brothers want to speak to that?
Well, this is just my dad's personal journey through waking up to the flat earth, or to biblical cosmology, and so much more. I mean, we still sell them today, these refraction kits that you can literally prove there's no curvature from your living room. It's so cool. But it's a good guide for beginners, I would say. That's what Eddie said when I was on his show, that it's a really, really good guide on, you know, how to wake up when it comes to that topic.
Sure.
Have you seen the refraction kit, Lucas?
Yes, I have. And I'm going to tell you, man, I want the floor to stay yours today. I just don't want to speak too much, but sorry, I told, I don't know, Jeremiah, if I said this whenever you were in the studio yet, but I told Jake my Bluetooth keyboard decided to die today. So I'm keying this in right now with my tablet with the mouse. There you go. For anybody that wants to go check it out too, there's the website address right there too. But one of the greatest works that I personally love that Rob ever done, and this is just my opinion right now, is the Chicago skyline.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, whenever you look at that YouTube video, when you, like, there's a couple videos to me that I think are the all-time top 10, you know, flat earth educational videos. One of them is the Go Fast 2014. It's not even a flat earth video. It's actually a private group trying to get the highest rocket altitude launch or whatever. They end up hitting the top of the firmament dome. It's there for all the world to see. It also shows the sun and moon the same time. There's a lot of things that prove flat earth in that video. But one of those also top 10 videos is the Chicago skyline video. If you haven't checked that out, you definitely need to go over and check out. I'll actually put a link to that for those that's listening and watching right now. I'll put that in the video later today in the links. I thought that was just phenomenal. And, you know, if you look in the engineering handbook, you know, one of the things that it tells you, I used to do construction. I mean, I still do construction. I manage a tiny house factory now, but when I used to do solar installs, wind turbines across the world, one of the things you don't account for is any curvature drop, period. And that's however long the surface you're working on can be for miles. So I just thought that was phenomenal because, you know, you cannot unsee that. You can disagree with that. You can be like, no, I don't want to accept that. That's fine. But the facts are there. And I just thought that was a great educational thing that he done with that. And I'm so sorry I went off. I forgot where I was at with my notes on that. Oh yeah. Okay. So now, Jeremiah, do you want me to share that other, the YouTube video right now, or do you want to speak to that about the protocol that kills?
Well, yeah, I'll just give a brief recap. It's my mom's book. It's a big, thick book, but my dad was murdered on October 13th, 2021 due to the country's tyrannical medical system. And I'll try to be clean for YouTube so that, you know, but he was murdered by the protocols due to the pandemic. So my mom wrote this book to prove her case that, you know, we'll just let the clip speak for itself. It kind of does. So let's just play it.
Okay. Roger that, brother. Give me just a second, man. And here we go.
Did you know that a government incentivized hospital protocol has led to the deaths of untold numbers of unsuspecting people? The Association of American Physicians and Surgeons noted, "We now see government dictated medical care at its worst in our history, since the federal government mandated these ineffective and dangerous treatments, and then created financial incentives for hospitals and doctors to use only those approved and paid for approaches." The book, The Protocol That Kills, exposes the lethal regimen adopted by hospitals to maximize profits at the expense of patients' lives. This exhaustive expose provides a first-hand account of the protocol in action as it was invoked on an otherwise strong and healthy 52-year-old Rob Skiba, who was diagnosed with a viral infection by the admitting hospital. Within 40 days, this valiant Army veteran who had sworn to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, had fallen at the hands of a government-incentivized domestic enemy. This over 400-page true crime story uncovers every aspect of this lethal protocol in action, despite the protests of Rob Skiba and his wife. It includes disheartening text messages from Rob, who was locked away from his wife because she was forbidden to enter the hospital in the name of the protocol. Lawfully recorded detailed conversations his wife had with doctors, therapists, nurses, and hospital staff. Numerous pages extracted from the over 5,000-page hospital record that exposed the protocol that led to his tragic death. The testimony of a medical expert who provided his detailed analysis of the case. Invaluable and timely insights of a legal counsel who provides the story behind the story by providing crucial details and evidence, along with over 100 citations from clinical studies, medical journals, federal regulations, and relevant books and articles that prove Rob did not die of natural causes, but due to the perpetrator's insistence that he follow the mandated and inhumane protocol that kills. As Richard Bartlett, MD, says, this book shares a wealth of critical insights that will greatly aid in preventing future needless losses of life. The purpose of this book is to sound an alarm of a clear and present danger, as this lethal protocol is still being used against patients in hospitals all across America, and to provide you with essential insights that can help save your life or the life of someone you love. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. Get a copy today at theprotocolthatkills.com.
So yeah, he was taken out, in my opinion. I mean, we just got through interviewing. It should be premiering at the time of filming this. An interview with one of the survivors of Waco. He was a child whose dad was executed outside of the. He was trying to get back in with his family, and that part of his story I could relate to because he was so. I mean, it makes me so angry when I think about what they did to him. Such a good man, probably the most humble, just the best person I've ever met, and they're allowed to just kill him like as if we're in Nazi Germany. It's insane. So
yeah, I'll share two quick ones with you. One is secondhand story, but I'll do it second. The first one is firsthand story. Somebody I know that's alive today because they were able to get them out of the hospital because of, I know I get hit so many times anymore with a medical misinformation. So I'm going to just try to speak to this in parables. If y'all could follow with me, and everybody that's listening, just bear with me. But this gentleman is a business friend. I have worked with him now for, almost a third of my life. I know him personally. We break bread together. He's in my wedding. Like, this is close person to me personally. The protocols and things that they were doing when he got hospitalized for said sickness, if y'all following, same thing here, is that they nearly took him out. And it was because of my other friend that's in Virginia that lives up there, through his actions and fighting against the hospital. Don't give him this, don't do this. I was only able to communicate even via phone, but they were wanting to put him to the point where that had they done much more besides already the damage that they've done to his body that he's still trying to recover from today, that it would have been to the point where they would have killed him. Like, facts. He would speak to that today. and it's very troubling, disheartening. Not only that, there was this drug, and I can't even think of the name of it at the moment. It's probably best we don't even speak about that on here too.
It
But
starts with an R.
It can damage your kidneys terribly.
Remdesivir.
What is it, brother?
Remdesivir.
Okay, that's probably it. It was a long name, but it has got some sick side effects, and he's still recovering from it today. Like, it nearly destroyed his kidneys. And then the other one is that they spoke to, now this is a secondhand account, is that they were to the point where this family was wanting to go back and see their grandmother. And they said, listen, she's passed on. You can't go back there. They went back there, and they literally had her on the breathing tube and all that stuff and everything. And they were literally back there trying to make sure that she died so that they could then transport her and the hospital get payment for it. And the family was like, you know what, that if she's dead, it is what it is, but we're going back there and we're saying our goodbyes. And so they went back there, and they went in the room. And as they went in the room, they were trying to carry out this act. The hospital was trying to carry out this act. And literally by the time security got up there, this had turned into like almost an all-out throwdown. And security come in, and I mean, if I was a security officer, I would have just flipped out. I'm coming here, I'm like, you're literally calling me in here because these people are saving their family member's life because y'all trying to kill them. And they let them walk her out of there and discharge. And they're like, you just, take her home. And that was a secondhand story right there. And I'm telling you guys, like, the medical industry, is going to be some serious judgment at the great day of the Most High's judgment upon this world. There's going to be some serious judgment on doctors, because the one that I can speak to firsthand, and then that secondhand account somebody else told me, I'm like, I know these people ain't lying. They are literally killing people to cash in a paycheck. Facts.
Well, and that's what my mom proves in her book. I mean, she has his medical record. She has every conversation recorded with the doctors, them basically saying, if you don't put him on this, I'm not going to say it. If you don't put him on it, do you want him to die? Like, do you want your husband to die? Like, pushing her in a corner. And we tried to get in there, but there were armed guards right at the front of the hospital. Like, only one of us could go in after the 40 days. And I never even got to say goodbye. And that was the first book that I wrote, was about the man, Rob Skiba, about who he was. And then my mom had enough time in between us releasing that one to put out her expose book about what they did. It's just so sick.
Yeah. I mean, on the topic, of all the professions, Lucas, what profession is most well known for having a God complex?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, the people in the medical industry, pharmaceutical, drug, sorcery, I mean, these people view us as dollar bills. They don't even view us as human beings almost.
Yeah. I mean, doctors, whenever you give up praying, you go to the hospital, and that's kind of the mindset of the world, right? No wonder Satan was hiding up there in a white lab coat, right? Satan wants to be set up as God, worshiped as God. I can imagine he's hiding up there in the upper echelons of the medical industry, because the world has given up our faith and accepted, the new religion of the white lab coat, medical tyranny, right? And it's not so surprising that this is how the world was being tested in the past couple of years, with how much are we willing to put our faith aside, our core essential beliefs aside, our bodily autonomy aside, and willing to bend over, bow down to a man in a white lab coat and what he tells us to do. I mean, have you seen that picture of the Baphomet? Satanic
Bro,
temple?
I was just thinking about the Baphomet whenever you were saying that about the drug sorcery industry. I mean, it's Umbrella Corp at the highest level at this point.
Yeah. For those of you who have not seen it, look up the picture of the Satanic Temple's Baphomet with the two children. You will see that the phallus is in the shape of the medical symbol of the serpents on the pole, right? It makes sense, to me, that's how Satan's trying to screw the world over, is through the medical industry, through the pharmakia. And the scriptures even tell us that, that the world would be deceived by Babylon's pharmakia, her sorceries. And I think that's why we're seeing post 2021, 2022, that there is actually kind of a truther mainstream information coming out challenging the whole, medical experiment that everybody was forced to take. Because I think the world at some point, according to scripture, has to turn against the system that sold that lie.
Yeah.
And when people realize, oh, I've just shortened my lifespan, how much anger and vitriol and hate can that be harnessed and turned against a system that fed you this lie for a Dunkin' Donut, right?
Yeah.
Man, and today, now we have them forewarning of doubling down with a, disease X being talked about, with these Carl Schwab figures, just recently, they were mentioning there's a developed strain that has 100% kill rate. And whenever you think about how the boa constrictor of the new world order kind of started to tighten down in 2020, 2021 with the lockdowns, the forced, participation in the experiment, even though it was by choice, which is such an interesting aspect of this whole time frame we live in, is that a lot of people were coerced. Yes, nobody was downright forced. It was almost like a leprechaun, holding a contract out saying, hey, if you just accept, sign here on the dotted line, sure, you get a free Dunkin' Donut, but I get your firstborn child, right? Except we're talking about people's health, agreeing with the man in white lab coat. I want to keep this, body safe and healthy and whatever. But there's so many parallels with what we saw with the concept of a mark of the beast. Really,
no doubt.
And if it wasn't the end all be all mark of the beast, it definitely prepped us as a culture mentally. And those who had the resolve, though, to stand up, I think are better for it and will be able to stand up much easier in the future because they didn't, give in. They quit their job. They didn't let the military, threaten them with dishonorable discharge. They went ahead and held off. And all those people that held off, by the way, are being vindicated.
Absolutely.
Which is beautiful to see. But it's like we saw how they're going to roll out more of these measures in the future because they were testing the waters 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, two things that for sure everybody that's a believer, if they look at it real careful right now, two things that's absolutely validated, just like you said, is Revelation 18. That's that Carfax is out there now. Like, you can see the drug sorcery industries and the great men of the earth trying to corrupt the whole world. The second thing is that as of the days of Noah, in Noah's day, many people their blood were just corrupted, through the fallen angels, through intermingling of seed, et cetera, et cetera. And now we have it where there are a lot of people's, in a certain situation, because I'm trying to speak in parables today so we don't get this stream going later on. And speaking of that real quickly, I seen this comment today, guys. Listen, there is a lot of people that have come to me and said they do not get notifications about my content anymore. That's why I'm trying to stay consistent on the days that we do this stuff. So, I know that you're not getting a notification on the live streams and other content that I post. They're intentional about that anymore. I asked YouTube the other day about my Google silver play button or whatever, because it's been over a year since I think I hit that mark, and they're not giving that to me either because they don't like my content. That's just pretty much the nicest way they said it. It's not that I broke the rules. They just hate my content. So if yins are wanting to see this stuff, yins are going to have to just be vigilant about it. And not only my YouTube, other truthers, because they're really clamping down on us, folks. Sorry about that, guys. I just want to make sure that they got that memo on that.
No, man, I always thought that was a myth. Like, before we started the channel, I would always hear people say we're being shadow banned or whatever. And then we created a YouTube channel, and then we started gaining a following, and then people stopped being notified every single time we put out a premiere or whatever. And they unsubscribe people, and then they'll resubscribe, or they'll take our numbers away, and then they'll put some back. And it's like, you always got to be fighting with Google and YouTube, and it gets draining sometimes. So I'm glad I do it and Jake doesn't have to do it, because If both
I
of us
got
were hearing it, he'd be stressed out.
Oh yeah, I got this thing from YouTube. You know how you get your monthly analytics and results? They said I had 0 subscribers. I was like, "Whoa, we winning!" I was like, "Look at that, 0 subscribers!" Like they hate me that much. It's amazing, guys, that like this channel's still even here. That's why I'm so glad, like folks like you and others, that I can do anything I can with who can see my stuff on my content, that they can see y'all stuff and go to it, because it's going to get to a point where I think they're going to definitely remove us at some point, because this agenda needs to carry forward, and they're going to make sure that anybody that's calling that out gets removed. Because I know that like in 2015, if you want to talk about flat earth, hey, you wired out. Then it got to where that in YouTube's terms of service and things down there, where that there was things that was specifically sketchy, they had flat earth as one of the things. And like they've really honed in, like the AI algorithm thing has been going through my content, and they've been deleting my content and telling me, hey, we're not giving you a community guidelines strike. We're just deleting your content because we think you didn't know what was up.
They did that to us too.
And guess what all those videos were about? What we're just discussing today. You know, so, or in the last 20 minutes, what we just discussed, that's what it's been deleted over. So there you have it.
We went when we were going to meet Eddie Bravo, who Jeremiah just got to do an interview with. I had worked up this whole joke because they're doing a comedy show, right? And so they have a live audience participation moment in this comedy show. And I go up and I'm going to try to tell this joke, and I go, you know, somebody told me once that if you want to know who controls you, you have to find out who you can't criticize. Well, you guys ever heard of the Bohemian Grove? You know, all those people, you know, burning fake, you know, babies to a giant owl, right? What sound does the owl make? Huh? Tell me that, right? Who? The Who. They are you know, the World Health Organization, which makes this, you know, it sounds like an owl. Who can't you criticize? It's the Who, because they're the ones that are in control right now, right? And it's funny because if you can't criticize somebody, the discourse is totally removed, and I think that's exactly what our expert-driven society has created, is this monster. And you see it with the whole gender dysphoria thing, where somebody can testify in Congress and somebody asks them, can you define a woman? And they'll be like, well, I'm not a gender specialist.
I'm not a biologist.
I'm not a biologist. But in a specialist-driven world, we're forced to turn off a part of our brain that questions and can challenge, because, oh, they're the ones that went to college. They're the ones with the degree. And so we've kind of created a society today where if you have a doctor, you know, which ties in and feeds into the whole college deception of, you know, go to school, pay a bunch of money, get into eternal debt just so you have the certificate. So people will take what you say as, you know, at face value. But that's what I don't know if I mentioned this in our last discussion for when we were doing our show, but I think that's what happened, and why the flat earth movement even ties into what we see with the medical deception later on is in the topic of questioning cosmology, you have to question people in white lab coats, the science experts, right? And when you give in to just buying what they say, a man in a white lab coat, when it comes to cosmology, even though it doesn't affect your day-to-day life, subconsciously you've already kind of bowed to the beast. But if you're willing to question and challenge when it comes to cosmology and NASA and those scientists in white lab coats, it better prepared you to question and challenge a different form of scientist in white lab coats, which was the medical, you know, establishment. And it created and bred a healthy skepticism, so that there would always be somebody in the back of the room saying, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I'm not taking what they say because, you know, these people are, you know, lying. So I think that's kind of what's interesting about the past few years of people waking up to questioning this specialist driven society that we live in. And it's the golden age of the internet, like you're talking about. Man, I'm so glad that I was alive between 2000 and 2015. Can you imagine, like, our children and their children, you know, if they have opportunity or time to get on the internet, it's going to be so, you know, AI controlled, tailored. Misinformation, malinformation are all going to be very, very controlled. But we grew up we had the wild west of the internet, where we had the opportunity for this information to spread around porously, people to share counter narratives and WikiLeaks and all that kind of stuff. These are the days where you need to start saving this information, because you can totally see a 1984, administration of truth tailoring anything, and you even see it with the medical experiment that happened in 2021, which is they're backtracking on a lot of the mask stuff and the things that they were telling us back then. And really they're able to now paint history in the way that they make it. And you can see with the way that they use Google to just sludge all the search results for all these different topics. And so it becomes almost overwhelming, I think. And I think that's what a lot of people start to deal with, is there's so much information out there, and there's so many things. The fact checker thing that just came out, that started with flat earth. The fact checker, whatever, it started with flat earth. Then it became a QAnonymous fact checker thing. QAnonymous totally was like a psyop thing that really purged a ton of online YouTube channels because people were talking about that particular topic. And they used those to purge a lot of truth tellers, I think. Anybody who saw through some of the deceptions and was talking on this or that, that's how I think. And they use these keywords. In our show, the way we get away with talking about the read my letters backwards XAV, right? The way we get away with talking about that is we beep it like a curse word. So in our whole show, you'll be watching, and we'll have a specialist on there, and they'll be like, the WHO wants to beep the whole world, right?
And it'll have a photo of whatever it is, like a little gift.
And it was hilarious, because it's literally become a no-no word. Like it's crazy.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Jake, like you were talking about, our children in the future, what they're going to look at should time progress forward, is like, it's something between like 1984, that movie INTIME that had Justin Timberlake in it and that other girl. It's something to mix between 1984, In Time, and Minority Report. Now, I don't know, I may be off on my bases there, but like, I feel like it's something meshed together like that. That's what we're going to be looking at within about the next 10 years. And especially with the integration of AI, I'll tell you, man, like, I hate AI with all my soul. Like, there is nothing that AI brings to my world that I want. Not even 1%.
Well, now they can frame you for a crime. They could just say that you were at this place that you totally weren't. It's like they could put your face on anything. It's going to be more powerful than DNA evidence. And I said that when it first started coming out, all these deep fakes, and they're already doing it.
Well, the thing that bothers me the worst is, like I told you, I think when we were talking on y'all's show, is that, if I'm Satan, one of the most important things to me is absolute total knowing what people's thinking and knowing where they're at. Well, now, I'm not Messiah, and I'm, of course, not in the seat of the Most High, but if I'm Satan, I want that power. And the closest thing that will give you that is AI. Because I can't watch you, Jeremiah, all the time. I can't watch Jake all the time. But by goodness, AI can watch all three of us all the time. And that is a terrifying reality that I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't found a compartment in my brain to process that yet, because it terrifies me when I even remotely begin to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. With how much AI can crunch the numbers. I mean, that was really the issue, that the powers that be, whoever they are, really, I think it's just a bunch of industry moguls that all struggle with their own sins, and their spiritual principalities kind of trickle down, and it causes a lot of effects. But I do think that AI has allowed them to crunch numbers, because time is of the essence, right? They didn't have enough manpower to crunch the numbers, but AI is allowing them to crunch the numbers. And if you ask, yourself, okay, so how have we been preconditioned for AI? Well, let me share here, right? People always ask, hey, when am I gonna, when's the mark of the beast here? Let me just look at this phone I carry everywhere with me and can buy things with and can, consume all the, information, knowledge and wickedness on the internet or whatever. Let me just check right here on my phone when the mark of the beast is showing up, right? And when you think about like Siri and Bixby and all the helper things that come along with our phones, what are those? They are a pseudo Holy Spirit. If you really break down what it is, Siri, what do you have Siri for? To help answer questions, to help lead you and guide you on what you need to do. To the point where once AI is plugged into Bixby, AI is plugged in, then you have a little Cortana. I don't know if you guys ever played the Halo games. You're gonna have that little being able to direct and guide you, and whenever you surrender your trust to that entity, that's when it gets dangerous. That's when your life starts to be directed and guided by AI, rather than, I guess you could say, the Holy Spirit. But I heard somebody share once, how can believers be able to escape the computing ability of AI? How, like, they have quantum computing, they have all this stuff, they have all this technology, they have spy cameras everywhere. Like, literally, Satan has created himself this vessel, which is the internet and our devices, to be able to be omnipresent, to be able to be, pseudo all-knowing and whatever. And how can we combat that? These are the giants that our generation has to fight as we leave spiritual Egypt / Babylon, right? And somebody shared with me once, that's why it's so important to have the Holy Spirit, to be able to feel the Almighty lead you on a day-to-day basis, not only with the things that he said in the good book, right, for us to do and, correct and tailor our lives to his image, right, to be more like Messiah, but also in a day-to-day basis. Like, they have your patterns. And the only way you're going to be able to function in a system of, the beast system, right, is to be able to function in a way that doesn't follow your pattern, your calculatable, crunchable numbers. And that's when I think, we get into the days of, you're going to have to get that feeling to go here and be there. And, and that's kind of the leading that will help you break the mold of your own programming, because that they're doing the numbers. They're going to know what your habits are, where you go here and there, and what you do here and there. And so, it's just a replacement Holy Spirit.
Yeah. It's a dangerous paradigm that we're entering into, because people lean on technology. Like, when I was born in the 80s, my grandmother, in this house that I live in now, just below my feet here on the wall was a rotary dial phone. You had to, stick your finger in it, pull it to 1, then let it go back, then pull it to 7. And it just took forever. And I was born in a time where, you just remember the old Apple computer that used to be as big as, the thing was just a huge brick. And to me, when I was a kid, technology was cool, like Star Trek, Star Wars, stuff like that. It seemed, like the science fiction aspect of it was really intriguing to me, because I always liked technology and stuff like that. But as I got older, and especially working with technology, putting solar panels in for people and wind turbines, and now crypto mining and all this, heavy duty electronics and computing power and stuff, I just think about it often, and I'm like, what I use for industry work is just one sector of a much larger machine. And, there is technology being developed that's beyond, I think, most people's mental capability to understand the evils in which it could be used for. And I think by the time most people get a perception of what that really does look like, it will be too far to harness it back in. Because I say that, to lead into the Google, there was a guy that worked for Google. They call him the grandfather of AI or whatever. He regrets making AI. Like the person that made, I don't regret putting solar on somebody's house. I don't regret putting a wind turbine up. You know, those things don't bother me. But now to make AI where it can, you know, tell a missile to launch and blow up somebody's house in the middle of the night, yeah, I would lose sleep over that too. And like, I think that guy really seen the grasp of how far that could go. And, you know, you've got Elon Musk saying that you're unleashing the demon. You know, like these people are some of the most wealthy, at the pinnacle of success, and they're even saying, you know, this is scary. However, I feel like Elon Musk speaks out both sides of his mouth because he has Tesla bots shooting up a Cybertruck, you know, for promo. So I mean, like he's literally building, you know, AI tech at the same time saying, you know, he don't like it. So I mean, that's a little hypocritical in my book, you know, I'm just saying. But yeah, it's a wild paradigm that we're entering into, man. Like, it's very interesting to me that there was a guy, I can put the link in the video description later. The guy was on TikTok and he was talking about flat earth, and he was talking about that, you know, like if we step back and use technology and look at certain aspects of it, he was even talking about, you know, how that at, I think it's 40,000 feet up or whatever, like oxygen freezes and of course solidifies, furthermore emphasizing a firmament dome, and et cetera, et cetera. And he was talking about, you know, that if the dome was removed, that, you know, we understand time within here, but outside of this firmament, obviously time is really not even a present. So, you know, in eternity, of course, time's not a factor either, really. And he was just, you know, using what little technology we have right now to make a level argument for the validity of what the scripture already said. And the more and more time goes by, the one thing I would hope that, you know, like with the integration of AI and more technology coming, is that people could use that to deconstruct the lies that we're being told and run a parallel society to that. Like, you know, I was talking with you on y'all's show, is because if they don't do that, we're literally going to be in the 1984 world within at least the next 5 years. I don't even think we're going to need another decade to really see that dynamic come to pass.
Yep.
Yeah. Blockchain technology is it also very interesting in how it relates and ties into AI. But I think there's so I've been dabbling in the crypto stuff for a while. I even worked for a crypto billionaire named Alex Mashinsky before he, of course, stole billions of dollars from people, allegedly. But anyways, crypto, the blockchain is funny. The name itself, when you break the name down, it's a block and a chain. And the technology of what basically is now Web 3.0, crypto is absolutely what will help a parallel kind of society run, but also it will be what the beast system is built on top of, just
No doubt.
because of the technology. I mean, really, they've created something that you know, it revolutionized the internet to a point that people aren't even aware of yet. It just the way that blockchain technology works, and the proof of you know, when you have so many people that can check you know, and corroborate, you know, what account is sending what crypto where, it can be anonymous, but it can also, you know, be pretty much the way that they know what is being spent anywhere at any time. So
Facts. Absolutely. Yeah. I think as a group of believers, as a body of believers, everybody that has wisdom, I think there's going to be that, you know, how the three wise men departed another way because they knew this wasn't going to end well. They had been sent a warning, you know, when they went to see Messiah, and they departed another way. I think it's time that, you know, as a collective of believers, we all start really seeking wisdom as a group, how to depart from this system as carefully planned as possible. Because this window, I feel in my being, this window of opportunity closing more rapidly now than ever before. You know, like the need to step outside of society and have a wood stove and your off-grid power, and to, I mean, I've said this many times throughout the years that I think one of the greatest gifts would be to just disappear out of society as a whole. just a blip one day. You're like watching all these planes flying on the radar, and one day, flight 279 just drops off the radar. Like, I would love to be able to do that, because there's going to come a time here very soon, I think, that the privacy, I mean, like right now, honestly, like our Fourth Amendment rights are already violated and being forced to purchase insurance. That was a conversation we were having, some of us men, the other day, is that our constitutional rights have just been completely eroded. Our basic human dignity in the past, from 2019 forward, has really been effort made to erode it. And we're just watching a lot of things transpire that I think our grandfathers and great grandfathers, they kind of had a concern that might rise up one day, but it wouldn't be in their generation. And we're definitely seeing it in our generation now transpire.
Yep.
Yeah. Every generation thinks they're it, right? And then it gets to the point where you're like, all right, how many, how much more like crystal clear, this is it type stuff can show up before we are it, right? And I think it's good to look at the deceptions in the worlds from kind of a individual basis. Like a deception that you might be susceptible to, somebody else might just see right through it, right? And whenever you think about all the variety of deceptions that are coming onto the world scene, it's kind of like the frog in the pot. How long does he stay till he dies, right? And the people that hold on to the system, that are plugged into the supply chains, that are living in the inner city, that are depending on these comforts and these systems that they're depending on, they still have a chance. There's still the whole premise of the sticks being grabbed from the fire, as the scripture talks about, right? Saved right before the moment of destruction can always happen, but it is way more painful, way more difficult to come through it if you hold on to the last minute to your comforts, and you stay asleep as long as possible, right?
Sure.
I mean, think about the kid waking up for school. The kid that wakes up 30 minutes before, showers, prepares, he's already eaten breakfast. He's sitting by the door waiting to get on the bus. But the child that slept in to the very last moment, what does their walk to the bus look like? It's like frantic, freaking out, grab stuff, grab this, and it just is like, who do you want to be? And that's how I feel like we're all gonna have to start making those choices. What comforts do I want to hold on till the last minute, and what am I willing to give up now to be better protected? And it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. I mean, I me and my buddy, we've joked about, like, man, air conditioning is going to be tough to give up. And I know it's cold right now, right? But like, in the heat of it, are you going to be out in the jungle, sleeping in the heat? But, not only, air condition, but like, just anything, food, anything, that could really, tie you into the system, that, our technology, our favorite, distractions or whatever. But, I think overall, the people that we surround ourselves with is directly correlated with our judgment when it all hits the fan. Because the community that we build around us, the people that we know, if we're spending our time now hanging out with losers, people that, have no moral basis, then those are the people that, when it all falls apart, are going to be like killing and eating each other and, still, marauding and what, guys, Mad Max type stuff, or are you going to be hanging out with people that have a strong moral compass, that put the scriptures as their basis of morality, and their pursuit of the Almighty is their, core focus? They're spending time developing skills. They're working off grid, learning how to farm. When it all falls apart, if those are your buddies, you're going to have an easier time of it, if you think about it. And it's just practical, kind of an empirical, thought process to how the world falls apart.
Absolutely. Hey, I don't know if you've seen it. Brother Josh Lefchin's memo right there. Shout out to you, brother. Love you, brother. Hope you're having a good day out there. he sent a shout out to Jens for keeping that going. Have y'all seen Josh's work?
I like your content, man. Yeah, I've seen you on there with Sean Griffin and them and stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I enjoy it. I tell you what, one thing that I'm grateful for, though, is despite whatever comes or goes, I just have this feeling in my gut that we're going to be the generation see Messiah's return. I really believe that, especially with just so many prophetic things beginning to transpire. Especially the biggest one, I would say, is before Brother Joe fell asleep and y'all rest his soul and waiting on the resurrection. I think that what him, when he told me and Brother Joel probably about, I don't know, almost 15 years ago now, about 2nd Ezra 16, and then of course looking at the River Euphrates, is that it's just so wild to me to like pick up the newspaper and look at it and says, oh, the River Euphrates is drying up, like legitimately scientifically is drying up. I'm like, that's never been said before. And like, it's literally the only other place you can find a reference that scripture's telling me that's going down. And that gives me comfort despite all the things that we're witnessing right now. And I guess to kind of circle the wagons on that too is, like how Rob pointed out so much about the Nephilim and how that, I really believe we will definitely see the return of these things in some capacity in the last days. Especially, with all the gene editing and modifying and all the other things that's going on too. Heaven only knows what we're going to see with that. But, the demonic deceptions in the last days, especially with the aliens and stuff, to circle back to that too, is, that CE4 research group. I think it was Thomas Horn and Chris Putnam that was the first people that turned me on to that, where that they talked about that all these people that said they, were having these alien visitations, that when they cried out to Messiah, that it stopped because obviously it was demons. That was what they concluded at the research group too, is that the more you look at TikTok, the more that you're seeing all these videos coming out about people's hiking in the mountain and there's a Nephilim, like standing in a cave looking at them. And I'm sure, like once again, we are approaching where AI and a lot of deep fake and video editing and stuff like that can take place. But like there was that one gentleman that posted, I can't remember where he was at. It was like Colorado, or I think he was up toward Canada. I actually think I'm wrong about that. I think he was up toward Canada. And he showed this Nephilim giant walking on the mountaintop. And he made multiple TikToks about it. And then the next thing you know, he died. And his obituary was on there, and he took his videos down off TikTok. Did you seen this, what I'm talking about?
I think I've heard of that story. I know there was a recent one in Brazil where they saw something on top of a mountain, and some basketball player came out and said it was me, but there's no way it was a basketball player. This dude was huge in Brazil.
Yeah, the one that, if you just remind me, text me a reminder, I'll send you the link. The one I'm talking about later is that it was really weird, is because the guy looked very nervous in one of his videos, and toward the end, and he said, hey, I just made this for the views, which is weird because it would be like me taking my daughter out riding her little RC Jeep out in the yard, and then like, hey, I'm at the beach, guys, and then all of a sudden there was I found this Nephilim. Then he went and investigated. Then the cops were at his house. Then the next thing you know, it's like, hey, I was just making that for views. And then the next thing is obituaries in the paper. It just didn't add up well. And then there was people, I guess, reporting that there was helicopters in that area and military presence afterwards. And yeah, it had all the red flags of a communist parade just popping up out of nowhere all of a sudden, and very interesting. And I just think, the more time progresses, just like the Miami thing, the story changed on that, that had a variance the other day. And I think that, the veil is being lifted to where that obviously those of us that are looking can easily discern it. But I think even those that have not been given eyes to see and ears to hear are starting to look at this and be like, I don't even know what we're dealing with here, but that's not normal,
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's with the revelation of truth that it allows true prophets and big false prophets to be kind of groomed in today's world. And let me break that down as, what is a true prophet, right? It's somebody that recognizes the ways of the Almighty, can see that through sin and disobedience, it brings curse. And so they warn people, hey, don't do what you're doing. That's going to bring a curse, as we've been warned by our loving Father in heaven, right? And I think false prophets and those who worship, false gods or whatever, when they become aware of truth and they double down on the deception, that's when it's even more wicked. There's even more an agenda there. And so that's kind of what we're seeing is we've kind of all been lulled asleep. We've all been kind of ignorant, but it's this principle of when there's an Elijah, there's a Jezebel. And so in this day and age where there's the most truth available, there's the most, clarity in terms of biblical prophecy, there's the most, energy to kind of unpack all these things that we've lost. There's also another kind of a parallel energy fueling the evil side, which is now they're like, okay, well, if that's the truth, we're doubling down, we're going to cut these people off. And it creates this kind of a good and evil dichotomy that's much more clarified. And I think it's the whole principle of the wheat and the tares being separated, right? People that don't want to hear the truth on these things that we've seen over the past few years and are stuffing their fingers in their ear, that's going to have a repercussion in what they fall for in the future. And so that's why we see truth is a great separator, and it puts the good wheat in the barn, so to speak, because, they're being separated from those who rejected the truth. And it all ties back to that 2 Thessalonians verse I brought up earlier. And so we have a beautiful opportunity now. We have amazing revelations that are dropping, amazing prophetic insights, and we can see these world events kind of starting to click together, so we can see, how we as believers and truthers or preppers or whatever should prepare. And then, I don't mean to repeat myself, but, it's interesting to see kind of an intensity in terms of good and evil now, where in the past it might have been much more placated, kind of we're all ignorant, we're all suffering from deceptions. Some things are very clear, good and bad, but nowadays, it's a much more, there's a starker line in the sand, so to speak.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that 100%. If you look at just in the past few years, it seems like whenever 2019 kicked off, and I just use that as like a marker, but it was somewhere around that time, is that you see how people that would bent the knee. And you've seen that people that were wicked just kind of come out and be like, hey, I'm wicked. What's up, everybody? And people that love the Most High Yah is like, hey, I'm going to bend the knee to this only. Like it really seemed to me like that there was everybody got knocked off the fence. Like there was this big rattling of the fence, and it's like, okay, which team are you on? Because we're going to settle this out here once and for all. And I really think that, that definitely got put in motion here in the past few years, because it's wild to me to look around now, and I'm like, these people are open sadists, and like they're proud of it. Like, I mean, they, that's their billboard. And I'm like, you look over here and these people are like, okay, I proudly serve the Most High, and that's only who I will serve. And it's kind of comforting to finally know where everybody stands, because for almost a decade, I mean, I've been in truth now, I guess that I would say for about 15 years. For about a decade, it was really hard to see between the lines on some people. Like I really had a hard time understanding, where do you, settle out on some of these things? And boy, it's past few years has been really eye-opening that people's just finally been like, yeah, this is how I feel about X, Y, and Z. And you really know where people stand now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, has that kind of been how you all have noticed things trending too?
Yeah. I mean, the first lie that I what really woke me up was Trump, when they would say all this stuff about Trump, like that he's racist. And then I watched the full clip, and that's not what he said. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I started doing more research and found out that they are manipulating the story. And so if they're manipulating the story with this, what else are they manipulating the story about? Everything. It goes all the way back to Helen Keller. I mean, that's my favorite conspiracy theory.
Yeah, we see the rise in alternative media, and I want to ask your question, what your perspective on kind of truth gatekeepers, so to speak, or mainstream truthers. So like people that are coming out exposing deceptions, exposing conspiracies and stuff, but with a little bit of the the good, there's a little poison. And that's what I think we all have to be on our toes about in today's world is now we all get the mainstream media thing. We all get, it's all bought and paid for. But now we have to sift through all of the alternative media and to see, are we being groomed and pushed towards a certain mentality with this, well-established truther that's trying to help us, see through the lies or whatever. Because you mentioned Elon Musk, and that's why I wanted to talk about this was, you had mentioned Elon Musk and how he was like warning about AI, but then he's, kind of promoting it at the same time. And, for example, there's like some amazing, qualities of, him, buying Twitter and helping freedom of speech. And really a lot of conservatives are, falling in line. They're like, hey, we can support this guy, he's all about, but then you have to ask the question, Satan is warned to come dressed as an angel of light, right? And I think that's where the real deception that can deceive even the elect comes into play, is when we see these figures that we start to root for. We see these people that were like, hey, they said some really true stuff, really good stuff. I on board there. And then they slip in the poison, unbeknownst. And so that's kind of where we are at now, I feel like, because we all collectively, I think everybody's, even very liberal minded people are like, okay, CNN is obviously tailored to me, so it's very obvious that there's the bad guy media. So when does it become obvious? When a good guy who presents himself as somebody who says all the right things, is leading you astray. And I think that's where we're at now. And that's a very sore topic. How do we determine, who's giving good information and who's not? Who do we listen to and who's not? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, my response to that, Jake, would be this, is that I think the best example that we just seen of that was the flat earth debate that Greg Locke held. Is because at the end of it, that last few minutes of it, when he threw Dean out, then he also spoke to his congregation. It's like, if y'all ain't going to kick it my way, just go ahead and kick rocks. And that ain't exactly what he said, but I mean, like, I'm just summarizing. I know you all streamed it and commentated on that too. But like when you look at that situation, there's past. I think it goes layers deep, right? Like an onion. You've got pastors out on the forefront that's saying, believe the Bible, believe X, Y, and Z. But then when it gets down to, but now, Pastor, what about this fundamental truth? Well, we ain't going to talk about that. So they gatekeep. They've always been gatekeepers in that aspect. Then you get out away from that, and then there's people that's walked out of the church house. And they're like, okay, I believe this truth, and this truth, but I won't sign off on this truth. I think those people are indirect gatekeepers of directing people down the wrong path, because they will give you enough food to bring you in, but like, they're still given the little bit of rat poison that's going to kill them on the end. And it's also those people's fault because they weren't willing to do the deep work themselves to seek these things out to see if they be true. And then you get to that last layer where that I think we fall into. I think that Rob definitely fell into, is that by any means necessary, silence these people, shut them up, and remove them, because they won't tell you just believe what they say. They will tell you to go and do your own due diligence to check it out, and don't believe a word they say. Furthermore, they're just giving you the Carfax. And I think that that's where we're approaching. And YouTube's atrocities that they've done to my content lately has gave me great faith, because the effort that they're using with their algorithm to go through old years of content and to systematically delete that off on certain topics has shown me that we're definitely on the right path. because these are things that are not welcome to be talked about publicly, privately, or even on the side. And so, I mean, that's how I would, break that down, is there's like three groups, that you've got to whittle down through, because some people, I mean, are just like almost cult mentality toward how their belief system is, that's a whole nother conversation in of itself right there.
Yeah, it's the concept of, does a false prophet know they're a false prophet? Or do they know that they're deceived and they're lying to people, or they're, leading people straight? Probably not. They think they're doing service unto God, is what, we see even the scriptures say that, they're going to put believers out of the synagogues and, come after you thinking they're doing service unto God, but, attacking the people true of faith. Right. And it's kind of, it's an interesting concept, like how, when you double down on cognitive dissonance and you can become a gatekeeper that's not trying to be a gatekeeper. Is kind of
not to interrupt you, brother. I think the defense mechanism we have against that I know that you all follow, and I can tell you without even having to guess, is that, Isaiah 8:20, to the law and the prophets, they speak not according to that. There's no light in them. Yeah. We obviously use the book as the number one go-to, and a lot of these people, I noticed that's their dogma over the book. And sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to add that caveat to what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. But full circle, I think Rob, that's one of the most beautiful things that he, instilled in so many people that saw his content, is just this thought process of, I might not have it figured out. I might not know everything, but I'm willing to ask questions. I'm willing to, hear other perspectives. And when you hear enough perspectives, you gather enough information where you can start kind of navigating a lot of these different topics. And I think that was so beautiful. And that's the quality I think we all really came to love and respect about Rob. And he was so humble, he was so sure of himself on certain topics, but he would say, look, don't take my word for it. If you have a good argument, bring it to the table. Tell me what I'm wrong on. Tell me what I need to research. Right. And I think, unfortunately, we're in a kind of a generation that, because of the expert kind of giving off authority to just trust them, we've become lazy, and people don't want to come up with their own perspective on things. They just want to, go with the crowd, or take somebody they respect highly's opinion, because it takes a lot of time and effort and energy to really seek out the truth. It's an ongoing, diligent process, and it takes a lot of patience. I think that's what we all kind of came away and was a beautiful gift that Rob kind of gave to people, showing them, it's a journey. Truth is a journey, and it's painful sometimes. But in the end, the Most High has a purpose for it all.
Absolutely. Yep. Jeremiah, anything you want to say and close on the show today as pertaining to that?
I mean, he always wanted to reach our generation, and he when he died, when we created the show, that's the demographic that's now being introduced to his content because of the show, which is so humbling and is such a blessing to me to see people go from our content to his content. And, I feel super blessed that I'm just a part of, his legacy.
It's awesome. Well, guys, it's been an honor having you on. Yins are always welcome anytime. If you've got something you want to share, by all means. If I can do anything to help you, let me know. As long as I got breath of life in me. So I always tell everybody that comes on, we're all fighting the same battle, and I will gladly do anything I can to help forward it for the kingdom.
The same here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, guys. I think there it is. My mouse went to sleep. I do not know what's going on with the Bluetooth, but that's going to be a tech support thing I'm going to work on tonight afterwards. Okay, guys, make sure if you haven't, to go down in the links in the video description below. I'll be adding the other links that we talked about after the show stream is done and finished onto YouTube. Guys, make sure to go over and check out Skiba News Nation. Subscribe, hit the notification bell for all notifications, because YouTube can't never seem to get their act together. So make sure to do your part to at least hit it for all notifications so you do get it. And guys, as always, till we see you again here at Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel, I hope the Most High Yah Baruch you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends, in Yahushua's name. Brothers, have a great day out there.
Later, man.